Welcome to the 2021 Small Business Planning Webinar, how local small businesses are surviving the pandemic and how they are planning to move forward into the new year. This is the third in our monthly webinars, which is hosted by the Branna Agency. Thank you all for attending. I would like to introduce everybody and just let you know that this will also be on our website when it gets launched in a week or two. So anybody who, if you want to pass it along, they can see it on our website. I have Skip Paal of Rutland Floral Group, Tim Boyle of 16 Prospect, and Ines of Total Home Cleaning. Thank you all for taking some time out of your day to be on this. So just a summary of what we're going to talk about today. The COVID-19 pandemic has forced small businesses to become more resourceful, nimble, and to deploy smarter strategies to keep their doors open while keeping their customers and employees safe. In today's webinar, you'll hear directly from local business owners and what they are doing to survive the pandemic. So this is a quick statistic from McKinsey. The challenge is especially acute for small businesses, those with 500 or fewer employees, which is all of us on this call, which account for a disproportionate share of the vulnerable jobs. Before COVID-19, they provided nearly half of all U.S. private sector jobs, yet they account for 54%, which equates to about 30 million of the jobs most vulnerable during the pandemic. Specifically, half of the jobs at firms with fewer than 100 employees are vulnerable, compared with 40% of those at large private sector company employers. So again, this is the Branna Agency. We are hosting this seminar. We're organized in with a variety of topics and questions. So let me start with what you did when you first heard the news about the shutdown. When you heard it was only going to be essential businesses allowed to stay open, how did you manage your business to make sure you could keep the doors open? So my first question, Ines, I know because we've had multiple conversations going back to March that this had a dramatic impact on demand from your clients. I'll just share that you and I spoke probably around March 12th or so, that, and I'll let you share what happened right around that time.
Okay. So we are an essential business. So, but as all this was sort of developing, first of all, we had to get clarity. Were we or were we not considered an essential service? We primarily serve residential clients. So that traditionally had been about 90% of our, revenue of our business is the residential market as opposed to the commercial market. So because all this was happening so quickly, I had to figure out, were we able to service current clients? Clients were canceling very quickly because everybody was scared. Our employees were scared as well. And so it was just, the first thing was just to calm the employees, to figure out, were we doing the right things that we needed to do in a pandemic? And just start reaching out to people in the industry that knew more about dealing with pandemics. And so it's just like a lot of fact finding very quickly, deciding, were we doing the right thing, staying open, and even though we were an essential business, or did we sort of need to take a breather and a step back, which is ultimately what I did. Is I took, I decided that we were only going to do empty homes, empty offices, while we got the right training for operating, going to the Global Bio Risk Advisory Council and getting the right training for us to be able to, and redesign all of our processes because they weren't necessarily all built for this environment.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Skip, if you would just let people know what your business is, and I apologize, I should have had I'll have everybody just, for those who don't know exactly what you all do, just quickly say what your business is, Skip, and then I'd like to know what the demand for your product has been over the course of the pandemic.
Sure. So my company, RBFG Incorporated, is Rutland Beard Floral Group. We are a retail floral company. We also own a wholesale division, trucking division, and an import division, but primarily in the retail flower shop business in various markets in New Jersey and in Maryland. When we first got the news, we were forced to shut down our retail outlets in both states almost simultaneously. As a subset of agriculture, one of the 16 critical infrastructure categories by DHS, we were able to be open from a back end standpoint, performing deliveries. And what we ended up doing is we ended up trading some of our higher margin orders and business for a lot of our, a lot higher volume, but a lower margin business through referral business.
Okay. Tim, I'm going to kick it over to you. I'll ask the question. I think most people, have some idea, but I think it's more interesting to hear from your perspective, how your customers and your consumers, how have they changed their habits since March?
Dramatically. Everyone is scared of this pandemic, and in a business like ours, which is very intimate and a lot of human contact, our customers have been very careful, and I don't blame them. We have been careful as well, and we've tried to instill as much confidence as possible in our practices and our, safety measures that we take.
So I would describe, Tim, just so if Ines, and I'm pretty sure that Skip knows 16 Prospect. I don't know if Ines does and all the other people do, but your restaurant and bar is in downtown Westfield.
Yes.
And the front of the location has a very beautiful and intimate setting for a bar, which makes it difficult to spread out, particularly in the front.
Yeah. We also relied on live music to bring people in, and you can't have a crowd of people in a small room like that.
Yeah, I was a frequent patron of your restaurant, and just the nature of your establishment is what draws people to it, which is the opposite of what people are looking for right now. I mean, I know, as fortunately, I help all three of you with your commercial insurance, and I know that early on, starting with the middle of March, we were having quite a few in-depth conversations about not only what is covered by the commercial insurance, but also ways to cut costs and other strategies that we could do. So I appreciate the opportunity to have worked with all three of you throughout this. So going into 2021, the consumers, what they're looking for is definitely shifting, and their channels are shifting as well. I don't know that people are necessarily not spending as much money. They're just spending them in a different way. They're going more towards value. They're going to online. And these trends are probably for Tim and you, Ines, more difficult than for Skip. We've learned a lot about our customers and clients. We know what works, and we're starting to know what isn't working. I personally, in my business, a lot of the transactions, conversations, the way I get to know people often is over the phone. I'll have brief meetings to meet somebody, but I still do a lot of my work over the phone. However, many businesses are shifting to Zoom and video calls. Is that anything that's helping you guys in your businesses moving forward? The way you're managing your business? Inez?
Yeah, so Stephanie, that's an interesting question. So, we had been moving more towards phone quoting as opposed to in-person quoting for a long time.
Oh.
And but the interesting thing now is I can engage a client in getting them to either share pictures or can you do a walkthrough of your house with me? And
Do you do
that,
FaceTime? Do you do FaceTime with them?
Yeah, FaceTime, exactly. And that really wasn't something that I felt comfortable with or asking them to do previously or even thought about. But everybody's just much more comfortable with doing that. I mean, clearly trust is a huge factor in our business because we're coming into your most intimate space, right? In cleaning it. But I think that does build trust, that video piece when we do use it. And it's something I really wouldn't have stumbled onto were this not happening. And it was just either very straightforward phone quoting or, can you come to my house and do a walkthrough? But now it's like, hey, can you do a walk? Can you come do a walkthrough? And I say, what about if you want to just walk me through your home? And so it's more efficient. And it's an interesting, it builds trust, with that client over just having the phone call. And I think that's something that we'll keep doing.
So Tim, you can't serve food over a Zoom call.
No, but we have relied heavily on the internet. We are in the process of building a platform so that someone can order online and pay online and pick up in the store. But that has been, before this, my brother and I would always say, thank God we can't be affected by the internet like some retailers can. And unfortunately now that turns around and that really hurts us.
Right, because of the nature of your business, it's completely different. So currently, how are people placing their orders to order food for takeout?
Over the phone or text. It's been working out very well. The takeout business has increased exponentially. A part of that is the idea that someone doesn't want to eat in our place. It's also the generosity of my clients. I think they really are truly trying to help out.
Well, that's because you're a staple in the community and you always give back to the community that you serve. So now it's time for all of the people who have been, your patrons and friends for all these years to help you. So how long do you anticipate being able to serve outside?
It's just been extended to March 31st. I don't know how many people will take up the offer, but it will be out there until the 31st of March at least. I have a feeling that will go straight through next summer.
So you'll have the people who are willing to, sit in the cold to eat outside.
Yeah, and there are some who will do it. I have customers who have told me they will not eat indoors until this thing is over, which I fully respect.
So what's the rule right now in New Jersey for indoor dining? Is it 25%?
25% at 6 feet distance.
And do you have customers who are dining in the back?
So our 25% is 26 seats. I have yet to hit that mark. I think the most we've ever had inside is 14 people. And it goes to show the caution that people have and the fear that they have, which as a small business owner, it's very important that we make these people confident in our ability to keep them safe when they're at our businesses. I will tell you that I've anecdotally heard of people who won't go to a business because they don't feel they're taking this seriously. And that I have a 91-year-old father that I want to protect from this. So we have been tyrannical with our employees about keeping masks on, washing hands, and really taking this seriously.
So let me put the question to you, Skip. Prior to this, Did you use Zoom in your meetings with your retail locations and with your operations staff?
No, very limited. We had two people who were versed in it, and it's a regular now. That's one of our cost savings we've seen. Our convention expenses, our travel expenses have been reduced dramatically between our locations because everything's virtual.
Everybody's staying put. What other, I mean, your business is geared more towards internet orders anyway, but how are you able to expand? Because I know from conversations that we had that certain areas, certain segments of your business are down. For example, people are not having large weddings right now. I don't know where it is now, but previously we're not allowed to deliver any flowers to hospitals. Mm-hmm. What has been the shift?
Yeah, most of those things are still pretty much in place. There's not a lot going to hospitals or nursing homes. Sympathy business has returned some, but it's not what it was. And as we all know, I mean, the weddings and events, it's just non-existent, especially the big ones. So our stuff has shifted. Our internet business is up. Our direct consumer business is up through the internet, but it's that's not offsetting what we don't have, and not to leave it out there is we had to shut down all of our retail operations for a little over 3 months. The doors were locked. We didn't have a customer in at all. So that being said, we did see some increase in some of the emotional giving times. The Easter week was actually up versus last year. Thanksgiving week was up. Those times when people can't be with their loved ones, when they might have traveled in the past. And we're expecting the same scenario through the winter holidays. People can't be there. Normally they would have visited, whether that's a drive across town or a drive or flight across the country. Now they're just going to send the flowers as a token to say, hey, we're thinking about you.
So when you say sympathy giving, are you talking about funerals? Yes.
So for a period of time there, the restriction on funerals was that it could be no more than the officiant and the deceased and maybe one or two immediate family members. Whereas in the past, you might have had a sympathy celebration that was, a couple of hundred people. So people they simply were not sending flowers.
Right. Oh, okay. That makes sense. I mean, for us, we're part of the Department of Banking and Insurance. So we actually had our doors locked for a couple of months so that nobody else could come into our location unless it was specifically by appointment. However, we never shut down because fortunately or unfortunately, it depends on how you look at it, we have a small staff, and we're, for the most part, if there isn't a barrier between us, we're more than 6 feet apart. So, and more than half of us are related, so we're kind of in the same bubble anyway. It worked out okay on our end. I think it's important to understand how small, what I would consider, we're all family-owned businesses, independent or, related family members own businesses. How do we make sure that we change to keep our doors open through 2021 with enough capacity to pay our employees? We don't want our employees to be a casualty of COVID. And I think, Tim, probably yours is the most vulnerable of the 4 businesses on the screen right now. Is there, aside from opening up a channel for more people to order, if you were to say, if you were to throw out a couple, like asks, what would you ask for?
I don't really know. We got some emergency funding from the federal government. The kind of business we have, although I'm not happy about what's going on, I fully understand the restrictions it's dangerous to have a lot of people indoors in any case. So I think really what we're relying on now is that vaccine. Once we get people vaccinated, once people feel like they can come outdoors again, can come inside again, I think that's what we're really shooting for, and that is what we're depending on. Our plan right now looks through May of this coming year, and that's how we're planning. That sometime in May or June, you start getting an increase in customers, but with that said, I mean, there's not much to do except wait and keep up standards. As I said, make people feel safe. I also think there's something important that we do, since we have a very social business, that everybody's going through a hard time. So I try and keep it as light as possible with my employees and with my customers. They're coming to my place to forget about things. They're not coming to be reminded of how bad I have it or how bad they have it. So I really think attitude for me is really important. I think it's important for business and important for me personally.
Yeah, I would say so. Ines, what things do you think that you want, or what would you like to communicate out to people who are listening?
I think one of my, big takeaways from this time has been the importance of communication. I don't think you can overestimate the importance of communicating with employees, clients, your partner, vendors. And I have to say, I never been the best at it. I get a thought, I start running with it, and I don't always do like the best at communicating. But this situation, as it was evolving early on March and April, I think some of my best moves and some of my worst moves were in the area of communication. So I remember with one employee, as this was, I use a professional employment organization to help, partner with on the HR side. And we quickly were, they were helping me and directing me to get some of our staff right up onto unemployment as quickly as possible. And for some of my staff, that was like, wow, that is, that's great. You're the best. Thank you. And then, but I had serious backlash from one employee because she felt that I didn't care. And then, I was subsidizing pay as well out of pocket because I knew they weren't going to get on unemployment very quickly. So, but it all came where it went super well was about, the communication being right there. And where it went badly, it was again, a lack on my part of really, on the communication, even with clients. So with my commercial clients, it's not just doing the cleaning that's important. In the past, it was about, you go in, you do a high quality job, and that's great. Now it's really about helping that business owner know how to communicate to their clients and employees on a regular basis that they are doing the best possible job to keep a safe environment. So that for me is I think all around, sort of the big takeaway and thing for me is just the focus on that communication.
I remember from phone calls that we had that you did quite a bit of research on new methods of cleaning. Do your clients, do they ask you about the products that you use, or if you've changed your products prior to the pandemic?
Yeah, so the biggest question we ever get asked from residential clients is, what are you using on the wood floors? And that is not as important anymore. But what I did was I put a lot of stuff on our website. Here's our response, our COVID response. We're using hospital grade disinfectant on the high touch surfaces. We have electrostatic disinfectant products and equipment, and regular fogging equipment, and just kind of, getting them to understand what the difference is between the different disinfection levels available out there, how they work. And so, yeah, putting that out on the website, and then just one-on-one talking to clients who are interested.
What about you, Skip, in your area? What would your next step be?
I think the next step that we have to figure out is really what's ahead for 2021, because, without being cliche, I think the whole world is ready for 2020 to be over. But it's become a very inconsistent year as well. We don't know what to expect. I don't know how to staff. I don't know how to buy. Certain products we can gain on demand, and certain products we have to buy a couple of months out. The last thing I want is to be left with thousands of roses on February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day, because they overbought. So figuring out that inconsistency piece is the challenging part going forward. I'm right there with Ines. The communication has been key with our staff throughout the process, and our staff has been great. We primarily, all of our folks that want to be working are working.
That's a good. So I know that each of you have faced issues with when you reopened, and in the past months, getting people to take the jobs back. Has that settled down yet?
Yeah, I think for us, when we saw it settle down was in August, when the weekly $600 bonus went away, because then there was not as much of an incentive for people to not work. And so we started getting requests at that time for people that had worked for us, 6 months, a year ago, to come back and work for us. They had been in intermittent jobs. So, the challenge is just now selecting the best workforce. So that's going to be our challenge going forward.
Where are you with that, Tim?
We only have about 20% of our employees back to work. It's just we don't have the finances or the work to bring them back. Some of them are still, on unemployment, and if they did come back, they'd make far less than they would. We just don't have the hours. We have cut back. Well, to give you an example, personally, I was used to doing 12 and 14-hour days, and I'm doing 6-hour days, 7-hour days. So the business is just not there,
So we did get a question that came in to you, Tim. What else can the local community and community members do to support 16 Prospect other than eating in the restaurant?
You could give me a big check. No, there are gift certificates, that sort of thing is fine. I also want to give a big shout out to the other restaurants and other retail establishments in Westfield and towns like Westfield. If this were ever a time to not Christmas shop online, this is the year. Go to these local downtowns and buy your gifts there. Retailers desperately need it. I see these closures of these businesses, and it scares me. It scares me not only now or for myself, but for the future of what these downtowns are going to look like. So get out there and support local.
I think that's important, because while most people are changing their habits for the short term, this will pass. And we want to see our loved local establishments like 16 Prospect still there, and the other businesses that have been in Westfield for a long time, and the other surrounding towns. We want to see them there. That's a good point, to buy to buy gift certificates for future use for when the restaurant will reopen. What is the most important lesson that you've learned since all of this started back in March, Skip?
Ooh, good question. That whatever rule book that we thought there was on February 1st of this year is completely out the window, and the rules have changed monthly, weekly, daily, sometimes hourly. And you've got to be ready to adapt and ready to be nimble and jump into those new things. And at the same time, accept some of the things that you can't change. And that you've got to just work around. And we have segments of our business where we said, listen, we're just going to put this on hold. We're not doing it right now. We're gonna focus elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I know, we had some fear factor in the beginning because we insure a lot of local businesses. Fortunately, we only have one casualty of a cafe in Montclair that permanently closed. She made a decision not to reopen. So we were lucky that we didn't lose a large percentage of our clients. However, in the second quarter, as most of, Ines, Tim, I don't know that we did it so much with you, Skip, but with Tim and Ines, we certainly had to look. And because of the type of insurance that they have, we were able to find ways to save money on insurance for a temporary period until you needed to ramp up again when things started going. But like for us, every time we save a client money or cut what they pay, it's a cut to our income. So while we were in triage because we're close with so many of our clients, and we always have to put put their needs first. It's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. It definitely impacted us financially as well. What do you think is the most important thing you learned, Ines?
So I think, I talked about the communication piece. I think about being nimble is certainly an advantage that, small businesses have. And so, changing, being able to, a lot of what Skip said, being able to kind of adapt and change. One of the interesting things about this pandemic that I was listening to an interview with the guys who started the Life is Good t-shirt company, and they always wanted to go to more of a just-in-time production capability where they would be turning around orders in 24 hours, but they've never been able to get the traction because they had so much resistance from vendors and employees. And there were some changes I wanted to make in the business here that would make us more efficient, but we always had so much resistance. But we, now it's just like a no-brainer. We're doing it. We changed the team sizes from teams of 3, 4 to teams of 2 that are more efficient, but also safer because you only have 2 people in a car. So I think that maintaining some of that nimbleness is a good learning and maybe wouldn't have happened without that particular change might not have happened. I think, partnering and finding synergies with, I've worked more closely with competitors than I ever would have. In some cases, because I had something they needed and they had something I needed, and we found ways to work together that we never would have probably made work. And to a lot of what you were saying, Stephanie, it's so easy for us to look at some of the resources we have and the vendors we use in almost in a way as a commodity, don't think too much about it, but boy, something like this, it really, it really brings to light how important it is to have a partnership versus a very, commoditized sort of relationship. And your response, your agency's response in March and April was above and beyond. And even to this day, how quickly you respond to any email. I just like, sometimes I can't believe it. I'm like, she must have like a ghost writer because she can't be this quick responding. But it was that availability that you brought to our relationship. I know I would not have had that with my prior insurance company. And so, kind of building those relationships is really important. And this, it's something that I'm more aware of and carrying forward.
Oh, I appreciate the kind words, Ines. Is anybody seeing an issue with the supply chain with your products, or
Yeah.
you are? What about you, Skip? Are you seeing a supply chain issue?
Yeah, definitely.
You are too.
Yeah, oh, yes.
With what? That's interesting.
Particularly products coming out of Europe, cheeses, charcuterie items, the liquor end of things are spotty. It's just starting to even out now, but certainly 3 months ago, you weren't sure what you were going to get and not get.
Really? Even alcohol?
Yes.
I mean, I know everybody's drinking it everywhere.
So ironically, at one point, the Corona plant in Mexico had an outbreak of coronavirus, and they didn't produce any beer for 14 days. So it was unavailable for almost 3 weeks.
Wow. What about you, Skip?
We saw a lot of supply chain issues early on. One of our largest vendors completely shut down for a month, which was tough. That we had to find alternatives. Since then, some of the products coming out of China, some of the hard goods are difficult. There's just delays on them. Whereas there was never a definitive time frame. You'll get it in 14 days or 21 days, or you'll get it when you get it, and now it's you'll get it when you get it plus a month or two. The other thing that we're running into is we're running into issues with the Postal Service now and trickle down effects. We do a lot of our collection, a lot of our business is out there right now in outstanding AR, just because the Postal Service has been running slower or less reliable. We mail somebody a bill, the number of people that don't get a bill, or they mail a payment back and we don't get it, or it takes 3 weeks to go through the Postal Service. We had 1 month where we mailed out 400 customer statements and not a single one got delivered. Gone. So,
Wow.
That's a month's worth of cash flow from those customers that we were sitting on.
And then you have to spend your employee hours chasing that money down.
Correct.
Making phone calls.
That's been a challenge. And then our commercial accounts that, people working from home is great. I understand it. They got to do it. But if you take an entire accounting office and you split them into 6 different places and they're only talking through Zoom and email, trying to get somebody on the phone to say, hey, where's our check is a lot harder.
I know in our industry, not on the agency side, at least not in our agency, but on the company side, on the insurance company side, because everybody's working from home, it seems as though management wants to keep employees on a hamster wheel, turning them through meetings constantly all day long so that they have less time to actually do the work, underwriting work, as you know, Skip, audit work. Insurance companies, from my experience, not only as a person in an agency, but also a consumer of insurance, the billing has always been terrible. And now it's even worse because the staff is just not the same in the insurance companies, which makes it difficult to get things done prior. I mean, we're as small business owners, I don't think that we don't want to keep our employees on a hamster wheel just to see them, logged onto a phone call. We want them actually doing the work. I have another question from a small business owner. What type of feedback are you getting from your customers, clients right now regarding their buying behaviors and purchasing habits? I don't know who to ask first on that, so just throw it out there if you, actually, you know what, I'm going to revise this question because I think Ines and Tim, you both, so with Ines, now that everything is going indoors again because of the weather, are your clients potentially going back where they don't want people in their houses? And then Tim is the absolute opposite. You're not going into somebody's house. People, you know, your ability to serve outside has closed or getting more difficult with the cold weather. So Ines, are you seeing people, you know, do you have any comments from people that they're considering not having you in their homes again?
Yeah, so definitely I've had a few clients call me with concerns, and then a couple of them we've sort of modified how we do and what we do. But so I see a little bit more as the numbers rise, people are going to be more reticent about having people coming into their house. The flip side is through this is that people also want to deal with a company where the process is being managed and there's oversight. So where maybe they might have called somebody who, you know, worked out of their car and, you know, didn't carry insurance, and, you know, they're a little more hesitant to call on that person because they feel more comfortable with a company. So that's the flip side of it. I mean, knock on wood, things are not the way they were March and April as far as our clients' reactions. It's, you know, it's been a few people, but I do think there's probably going to be an increase of people just saying, not until the numbers come down. We'll see a drop in new clients.
I'm going to throw it back to you, Tim. What kind of comments do you have on this?
So we're definitely seeing a drop in business as it gets colder out. But as Skip said before, we've become trickier. You know, we've been through it, and as we go through it, we can change gears a little bit more easily. What will be very disappointing in my business is the loss of holiday business. You know, because that time between Thanksgiving and the first of the year was 30, sometimes 40% of our annual take. So that's going to be a disappointment. However, our expenses are down. We don't have the payroll we had. You know, we aren't paying bands to play every night, which was extremely expensive. So, you know, we have to get through it. That's all there is to it. You know, we're going to have to knuckle down. As Skip said, you got to be as nimble as you can be. I think the three of us have surprised ourselves at times at what we've been able to accomplish up to this point. And the fact that we're all still sitting here and still have our businesses intact, you know, I want to pat ourselves on the back for that, because I feel like it's a hell of an accomplishment. I wake up some of these mornings and I say to myself, I can't believe I'm still here. But we keep on going. I also just want to bring up one point that Ines brought up about insurance. And I want to also say that I agree with her 100%. Your family and your agency has been one of the biggest benefits we've ever had, one of the greatest relationships we've ever had. I do want to point out a lesson that my father taught me back in the recession. He said, have you looked over your insurance policies? And I said, well, no, not really. He said, now is not the time to reduce your insurance. If you can reduce costs, that's great. But the last thing you want to do is be underinsured when you have very little income coming in. That's the time when your insurance has to be its strongest. So you and I went through a couple of policies, and if you remember me saying, I don't want to save money if it reduces my benefits, because that right now is extremely, extremely important.
Yeah, well, you know, in your case, because your business shifted a little bit with the good and the bad, we were able to shift and pivot and find a better commercial package that saved money, which right now really, really mattered.
Yes.
So I appreciate, we, as a family and as a business, we've been around for 55 years. We appreciate the relationships that we have with our clients, and we work really hard to keep them. We know that when we're suffering, everybody else is suffering too. And it was, I actually worked because I have asthma, I worked from home for about 6 weeks, and I did a lot of pacing on the phone with my clients, a lot of pacing. It's a miracle I didn't wear a ring around my dining room table. Because, our clients are really, really important to us. And we want to make sure that we're doing the right by. We always want to do the best by you first, because we know that if we do right by you now, you're staying with us later down the road. It's always a long-term game. Skip, anything you want to add?
No, I mean, I think, our customers are buying more and more online. We've seen that trend since our customers started buying online in the late 90s. It's increased every year, but this year we've seen the largest increase. Our individual internet business is almost double from our consumers. Now, that's offset against the doors are locked, and people are afraid to go out. But I think that's a positive. It's a positive indicator for us down the road that we're able to take back some of that, because in the past that business would have gone to third parties or would have gone to another type of vendor. Somebody would have called Harry and David and sent a basket of pears. Mm-hmm. They got great pears, but I want them to send flowers.
Yeah.
So bringing that business back at the local level, where we're not paying fees and commissions, we're not paying referrals, and we're actually, selling our product that is us. Hopefully that trend continues with our customers, where they're going to want to buy from that local business with the convenience of being able to buy on their phone or on on their computer.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap it up. We're almost an hour. So first of all, I want to say thank you to Skip, to Tim, to Ines for taking time out of your busy days. I really, really do appreciate it. What I heard coming out of all of you is that being nimble, nobody used the word thinking out of the box. Maybe that's an old phrase. To me, it's lead, follow, or get out of the way. And I think everybody here has found a way to lead their businesses on. We don't really know what's happening in 2021. Every time you turn on the news, it feels like there's, every few days it's something different. But my sincere hope is that we all at the end of 2021 can look at this in the rearview mirror and still be standing and supporting our families, have our employees that are supporting their families, and that we continue to be relevant in our communities. So thank you so much for your time. I really, truly appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Happy to.
For everybody listening, we do this webinar once a month, and look for email for the next one. So thank you again, everybody.